Is there anything that feels more full of promise than a new journal? Ever since I was a little kid, I was obsessed with journals. I loved the book and the movie Harriet the Spy. I carried around a journal and tried to document so many things. As I got older, journaling was a way to get things out of my head and basically helped me work through a lot of teenage emotions. And it's a habit that I did not carry into adulthood very consistently, but I still love a new, beautiful journal. For a while, I was one of those people who couldn't write in a new journal. Like, how could I spoil this pristine, new, beautiful thing? And I got to the point where I decided, why shouldn't I use this beautiful journal? So I would use journals for grocery lists or whatever I thought of, and I have a lot of them, but I'm at a point where I feel like I need a new one for a new purpose and a renewed practice. Though, how do you pick? How do you look at all of these beautiful journals and decide which one will hold all of your thoughts and ideas and ramblings? And on the practical side, I like looking at the different paper styles and how they feel. And then I also imagine carrying them around. If I put this in my bag and pull it out over and over again, will it start to look worn? Will it get dirty? So I'm very picky in deciding what that new journal should be, because there's just so many things to consider. But I enjoyed looking at all of these at Barnes & Noble and considering and imagining my thoughts and feelings on those pages. Hello friends, it's Diana of Cauldron and Crafts. Welcome back to my channel. On this channel, I create seasonal content with a witchy twist where I try to live with the seasons and embrace seasonal rhythms. And along those lines, in this video, I want to talk about winter and easing into 2026. I hope everyone's had a good year so far, the however many days it's been so far. And I hope everyone had a great holiday season. I've been hibernating basically since Christmas. That was my last big hurrah, busy day. And then I basically just relaxed through the week up until New Year's, and then even the weekend after. Rather than jumping into 2026 with a new year, new me attitude, I never feel that way at the beginning of the year. I always have to ease into it, and it's around in bulk time, which is beginning of February, when I actually feel that energy to really start creating and doing things and figuring out what the year is going to bring. This year, I do feel called to ease into that transition. We are a few weeks from in bulk, but as we all know, the wheel of the year and those Sabbats are not days, they're seasons. So we're easing from solstice into in bulk, and I'm feeling that energy to buy a new journal and start planning out what my goals and intentions for the year will be. And I wanted to share those with you today. And the first thing on the list is to basically have a more consistent journaling practice. Last year, I really tried to start journaling consistently, and I bought a journal that was like a daily journal that had prompts and things like that. And I was very consistent up until March when gardening season started, when I was extremely busy. So I stopped being as consistent about it. And that journal was gorgeous, like beautiful. I'll keep them on my shelves forever because they're just so gorgeous. They came from Dreamy Moons. I'll put a picture in. But it was a 2025 journal. It was dated for 2025, which, I mean, you probably could just kind of like disregard the dates and keep using it anyway. But I wanted to start fresh because one thing about this year that's special for me is even though this is a new year, this is the year that I turned 40. So it's the beginning of a new year, but it's also like the beginning of the end of a chapter of my life, like my 30s. So I feel a little bit different about this year than I have in the past few years. And I want to become consistent with journaling and start documenting more things in my life and like mental health wise as I go into the next decade of my life as well. And so I showed at the beginning of the video picking out the journal, and I kind of knew I was going to pick that one because I had seen it a while back and it was just in the back of my mind. So you know how when you don't buy something immediately, but you keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it, and I kept thinking about that one journal. But I did look at all the other ones because I like to look at, what's out there, especially different paper types. Of course, I got a lined journal, like a traditional, more like with actual lines, but I really like bullet journals. And not because I do like bullet journaling, I just like the flexibility to be able to make it like a graph, like little check boxes. That's very satisfying to make a little checkbox and then like check it off. So that's one of my goals and intentions for this year, is to become consistent with journaling. And along those lines, using tarot as like a means to help guide my journaling. And I also got a book called Wild and Wise Witch, which I'll post a picture of that. I forgot to bring it down here to film this. But it's basically like daily meditations for like a witchcraft practice. So I also want to use that to guide some of the things that I think about writing, and not just document my day. I went to the gym. I did work. I went to the garden. So I want to do better. That's what I was doing a lot last year. And I think that also made it hard to be consistent because I felt like I was just writing the same things over and over again. So I want to go deeper than that this year and help that be what makes me consistent, because I'm going deeper and like and writing things down that are important for me. The next thing that I want to do, one of my goals for this year, is to work on my physical health from like a mobility and longevity standpoint. I mentioned that I'm turning 40, and all those cliches that you hear, that the things that you do to your body when you're younger will catch up with you. And I am starting to feel some of those choices that I made in the last 2 decades of my life. But really, primarily, it's that I sit at a desk all day now. So for all of my 20s and part of my 30s, I had an active job where I was on my feet all day, every day, and I went to the gym a lot during that time, and I lifted heavy weights a lot, and I was in like peak physical condition at that point. And then I moved to an office job, stopped working out as much, but I still was very active. Because I enjoy being active. I like moving my body. It makes me feel good. And it's always been in the back of my mind that I want to age gracefully in a way that I'm able to do things and be active throughout my older years. And because I sit at a desk all day now, that's catching up with me, where I'm not as mobile as I feel like I should be. So it's leading to me having more aches and pains and injuries that's holding me back from doing the things that I want to do. So, for example, last year I was planning to run a half marathon and I was training for it, and I just was not recovering well. I started having knee pain that was, I couldn't overcome it, and I ended up not doing the race. I want to get back into running again. I enjoy it. I enjoy the training aspect of it because it's very meditative, and to just be outside and like you're in this zone of like mental space to keep moving forward. And then obviously there's like the runner's high, which is a cliche, but it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to be outside and moving my body. So in order to enable myself to do that, I need to start being more consistent with stretching and mobility work so that I'm not locked up and not able to do the things that I want to do. I'm too young for that. I'm going to be 40, but that's not too old to be able to go out and go for a run if I want to, or do a race, lift heavy weights again. So I have stopped lifting heavy because I didn't have the mobility. And I was telling myself that I didn't have time, but I have time. I just was not prioritizing it and making it a necessity, like an absolute that I must do so that I can, so it enables me to do the things that I want to do. The third thing that I want to do this year, my goal is to spend more time outside, which I mentioned going outside and exercising like running. And of course I'm going to have my community garden plots again this year. And last year I did spend quite a bit of time outside in my community garden plots, taking care of them, like weeding and watering and doing community work days where we would do like broader work in the gardens. But I am very lucky enough to have a nice yard, a nice sized yard, front yard and backyard. And I didn't spend much time in it last year. Part of it is because I live in the South, it gets very hot in the summer. So even in the evenings, it can be really hot and muggy, and mosquitoes, horrible problem. However, I want to commit to spending more time out there and enjoying the space and just getting to know more about the nature that's in on the lot where I live. And one of the ways that I want to do that is to actually garden in my yard. So I think I probably mentioned in a video before that my yard is basically completely shaded in the spring and summer. So that's why I don't do vegetable gardening and in my yard, because I just don't have enough sun. But I after now being here a whole year and seeing the sun and shade patterns and how the leaves like come on the trees and leave the trees, I have some plans to do some flowers and landscaping in the front yard, some shade tolerant flowers and stuff that likes shade, like ferns, hostas, and things like that. And then also in the backyard, there's like this little space that you can tell is like meant for. Yes, sir. Come here. There's this bricked off space that you can tell was kind of meant to be a like a little garden or landscaped space. Hello, Jupiter. And we also have the fire pit. So Samhain, I don't think I didn't film this, but Samhain was the first time we used our fire pit since we moved here. And then of course I used it on Yule, so I want to use my fire pit more often for the Sabbats to help celebrate and just do something cozy like roast marshmallows or just hang out around the fire. So, and we have a nice patio, so we want to just in general spend more time outside. So I'll need to come up with a plan for mosquitoes and in general make it a little bit more pleasant to be outside when it's warmer. Overall, just enjoy spending more time outside in the yard. Let me know in the comments how you're easing into 2026, whether you are the kind of person who jumps in with like a new year, new me attitude, or if you ease into it and take it slow and kind of build on momentum, little step by step, little by little. And I'd love to hear what your goals are for this year. And thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.